Yep, that's me and my first Shetland pony. And that is where my love of horses began. I was pretty lucky because my mom had horses growing up, so it was like a no-brainer, of course, that she got me my first pony when I was a little girl. And from there, of course, I moved on up to the horses, and it became an obsession. I absolutely loved horses. I lived and breathed horses. I was super competitive, and I got into the hunter-jumper world and had some success in that, and I was just in love with everything that had to do with horses. Unfortunately, life happened, and when I turned 17, I got out of horses for a long period of time. Unfortunately, I actually had to get out of horses for health reasons. I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease and was very, very ill. I've had a few surgeries for that, and luckily these days I am doing better. Of course, it's something that you just kind of learn to live with. But coming back to horses as an adult was a whole new world. I didn't even really have any horse friends. I was kind of all on my own in the beginning. I purchased Fergus in January of 2017 in hopes to get back into the hunter-jumper world that I had really, really missed. This video is from the day he was dropped off. What I didn't know then was that this horse would go on to be my heart horse. And 7 years later, I still have him to this day. And he has taught me so many lessons. Fergus has never been an easy horse. He has been by far the most difficult horse I have ever owned in my life. He wasn't a horse you could just jump on and plop around on. He absolutely expected you to be 100% on your A game and use all the correct aids 100% of the time. But he also had the best personality. He was the goofiest gelding I have ever owned, and he always was trying to make you laugh. I started out riding him English and doing some jumping here and there. We even went to our first show together, which was just a little local show, but he actually was a very good boy. We had entered some jumping classes that day, but he was actually too excited to do that, so we didn't end up doing that, and we bailed out of those classes. But he did take me to my first hunter pace, and we had the best time. He was so excited and so keen to go. Kind of made me a little bit nervous, but we just had an absolute blast. Then we started doing some Western stuff and going to some gymkhanas, and this right here was probably one of our funniest moments together. By this time, Fergus was forming his own fan club because everyone just loved how goofy he was, and he was sometimes just completely wild, so he absolutely always kept me on my toes for sure. This horse would be so wild in the warm-up sometimes that I would just pray that I would stay on and we would make it out alive. He just loved it if he had an audience. If there were people watching, he wanted to put on a show. I have never met a horse like this before, but the more people outside the fence, the more I knew he was going to be wild. But even though he was difficult and he could be wild, we had some of the best rides of my life. He was one of the most powerful horses I've ever ridden in my life. And the feeling of us together as a team was just something that I just can't replicate. Also, even though he could be difficult, he wasn't unreasonable. And that is something that I learned along the way. Unfortunately, I have boarded at a few barns where people were absolutely terrified of this horse. And they were terrified to turn him out. They were terrified to handle him. And quite honestly, he was nothing to be afraid of. I think that if you treated him with respect, then he treated you with respect. But if you came at him in a manner that was disrespectful or mean, he completely gave it right back to you. So we struggled for a few years with that. It was very unfortunate. People just were not handling him in a good way. And that is the reason that I have moved him home. And that is the reason that I have built the farm that we have today. It's all really because of this horse. Because I knew that he was not receiving the care that he should have been receiving on a day-to-day basis. And it was something that I knew that he deserved. He had given me so much that I really wanted to give him that in return. And I have to say, it's amazing once you change their environment and the care that they are receiving and giving them what they need 24/7, how much their attitude changes, how much their behavior changes. He literally is like a little lamb these days. And this is the horse that I have known all along, and I know that this is the real him. So many people told me to get rid of him, sell him, he's no good, he's dangerous. And honestly, I'm so happy that I did not listen to those people, because he has seriously made such a difference in my life and in my horsey career, really. I mean, he's really just made me step up as a horse owner and a horse mom and a rider, and he has made me learn a lot of valuable lessons. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, he started having a lot of soundness issues, and they would just kind of go from one thing to the next. We've had some swelling in one leg. We'd have another joint that seemed to be bugging him. His hocks were, needing injections and seemed to be fusing. So I even got to the point where I actually dropped him off at the vet's and was like, please just do a complete workup. I really just want to figure out what is going on with him. And when I thought there was an issue with his hind end, that visit came back that he was actually lame in his left front, and that he also had glandular ulcers. And mind you, we had just left one boarding facility and moved to the next. And at the previous boarding facility, he was stalled for a great amount of the day, which was very disappointing. He wasn't getting 24/7 hay. There was just a lot of things that I have changed now, that I have learned over the years, that these horses need certain things in order to be healthy. And like I said, I dropped him off at the vet and they found certain things. We went ahead and we fixed those things. But unfortunately, even after that, he just started, having little issues pop up, and I just couldn't get him fit. I tried to start getting him into work and it would just all fall apart, and it was really, really unfortunate. So instead of banging my head against a wall and just pouring thousands and thousands of dollars into him, which I already had, I decided to just give him a break and semi-retire him. For being as big and powerful as he is the most sensitive horse I have ever met in my life. So we haven't gone on to win any world championships or anything, but he did win me my first buckle in barrel racing, which was pretty exciting. So these days, Ferg has just been enjoying the good life, getting scratches and treats and just being loved on. He's still super goofy and can be wild and playful at times, which I absolutely love about him. But I'm hopeful that maybe in the near future, I will be able to at least bring him back into partial work, just because of course I just miss, riding him and just miss our time together. But we will see how it goes. I don't expect anything from him. He has just done so much for me that honestly, I just want to give him the best rest of his life that I can.
Well, did I scare you? You didn't hear me coming in? You didn't hear me? I was wondering why you weren't responding to me. Did I scare you? Here. Did I scare you, handsome? Huh?
If you're looking for some fun horsey apparel or some new hoodies for the fall season, please feel free to check out our store. The link is below.